We'd like to welcome everybody to Christ Central Church Living Free meeting. We're here every Tuesday night at 7. We hopefully will have this YouTube up and posted around 9:30. Amen. All right, we've been talking about the Father's discipline. If you would turn with me tonight to Hebrews 12, 5 through 10. We said one of the things that we need to know, that we know as a disciple, is certain things about our Father. One of them is that our Father is a good Father. He does what He needs to do, when He needs to do it, and how He needs to do it, regardless of how we feel about it. He's not codependent. He's also, we need to know that He's a disciplinarian. He disciplines those that He loves. If God really loves you, the way He shows that is one of them, He has a hand of discipline, or the disciplinarian hand of the Lord. Hebrews 12 is the Fatherhood Principle. Tonight I want to talk briefly about the Fatherhood Principle and how it's a joint participation. God does as His part, and how we know we have our part. God's goal is to discipline us, but we have to cooperate with that discipline. We have to welcome it. We have to embrace it. And so we have a part to play in it. In Hebrews 12, 5 through 10 is the Fatherhood Principle, or the divine exhortation. Starting in verse 5, he says, "My son, do not regard lightly, disregard or disrespect, take it nonchalantly, the discipline." That word discipline is our word for child training or child rearing. Don't take His training of you as a child, don't take it lightly, nor faint, lose heart, or get discouraged, or become embittered. That's what that's talking about. How many know when the Father corrects us, sometimes it's easy for us to misinterpret, take it the wrong way, and we can end up getting bitter and miss an opportunity to get better. So don't become embittered when He reproves you. That means reprimands you. Those whom the Lord loves, He truly, genuinely cares. He disciplines, or that's the word for chasing. God will chase us down. God will go after us. He'll leave the 99 and go after the one. And He scourges, or He punishes, or that word actually means to whip if necessary, to punish hardly, every son whom He receives. Every son or daughter of God that God has received, that means He's brought you out of the darkness into the kingdom of light. Any son that He's allowed to be born again, and He's made you a part of the royal family or the royal priesthood, once you become true, bona fide, legitimate children of God, then every son and daughter, He will discipline. He will reprove you. He will chasten you. He will spank you. He will punish you. He will scourge you. He will even get to the point where He'll turn you over to a depraved mind for correction, even to turn you over to the enemy, but always for repentance. Everything that God does is all about love. These type of messages aren't well embraced with the grace message. These are the tougher messages. People don't talk much about it because they don't put a lot of nickels in the offering plates, they don't put a lot of noses in the pews, and they don't tickle ears. They're hard to receive, but I'm just reading the Word. The Word of God says that God is a Father. He's a good Father. He's not codependent, and He's a disciplinarian. He will discipline those He loves, and He will go through whatever stages are necessary to see to it that you are grown up into the man of God that He's called you to be. Verse 7, it says, "It is for discipline that you endure. For God deals with you as sons. For what son is there whom his father does not discipline? But if you are without discipline, of which all have become partakers, then you are in reality illegitimate children and not true, genuine sons. And then in verse 9, this is where I want to go to tonight. It says, furthermore, or in light of this stuff, or therefore in light of the things we've been talking about, furthermore, we had earthly fathers who disciplined us, and we respected and honored them and respected them. Shall we not much more, or how much more, should we be subject to the Father of spirits and live? Now this word subject is the word hupotasso. It means to place or to rank under. It's a military term. In the military, they come while your wife is still asleep, and they blow the bugle out in the yard, and the sergeant is up, let's go, let's go, let's go, and everybody runs out, and everybody falls in line according to rank. Doesn't mean one person's better than the other. It just means that you have a different rank. Everybody can't have the same rank. You've got to have a general. You got to have sergeants. You got to have privates, and you got to have a certain order. God's family of God, the family of God also has a created order. Jesus is subject to God. Man is subject to Jesus. A wife is called to be subject or submissive to her husband. Children are to be submissive to their parents. Servants are to be, or slaves are to be subservient to their masters. Society at large is supposed to be submissive or subject to the governing authorities. And so even in God's kingdom, there's a certain created order. So the word subject means to submit or to be subservient. Subservient is an attitude where you embrace the discipline or you embrace spiritual authority. It's the word to defer to someone, to yield to them, submit to them, obey them, listen to them, cooperate with them, fall in rank, fall in line, and say whatever you do. I like the old movie Private Gun. What was that movie called? Huh? Forrest Gump, thank you. Sergeant's in his face yelling at him and says, What is your mission and goal in life, sir? Or Private, or Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump responds, my mission and goal in life is to do whatever you tell me to, sir. I think he used a few more coarse words, but basically he says, outstanding, Mr. Gump, outstanding. That's the best response I've ever heard to that question. So Forrest got it. He realized, man, I'm in the Marine Corps or whatever. I'm in the rank, and the best thing I can do is shut my mouth and receive and be teachable and just say, I'll just do whatever you tell me to. Tell me where to stand, what time to show up, and I'm easy. I'm good. He got it, didn't he? And so God's discipline is a good thing. He does it for our good. But if we're not on the same page with Him, and we don't embrace it, we don't cooperate, and we don't subject ourselves to it, and we're not submissive to it, how many know you can tell somebody to sit down, and they may sit down, but they still may be standing up in the heart. I can join the Marine Corps, I can do what they tell you to, but I can be grumbling and complaining and murmuring all my way. So the goal is to recognize God's discipline as a good thing, despite what we see, feel, or think, or whether we like it or not. It is what it is. We have a choice. So God is going to discipline us so we can come easy or come hard, but it's much better if we will just enter into the point where we understand it and it's for our good. Even though we don't understand it, we submit to it. We're subservient to it. We embrace it. We cooperate with it and say, I don't understand it. It doesn't feel good, look good, Lord, but I know it's best for me, so let thy will be done. You're in charge. You're the chief. I'm a slave. You're the potter. I'm the clay. Mold me, make me into whoever you want me to be. So tonight I want to talk about the teachable spirit. This is a I want to get this one on DVD for perhaps the men, because it's such a critical teaching for recovery. How many know we're all in recovery? We're trying to recover from sin. Our lives have become dysfunctional, unmanageable. Every time we drink, every time we drug, we end up getting a DUI, we end up in jail, we lose everything we've got, we lose our life, and here we are back around the mountain. We're all in a process of recovering. And one of the essential ingredients to successful long-term sustained recovery is that we have to have a teachable spirit. A teachable spirit is one that's obviously submissive and subjects itself. It cooperates, it yields, it defers to. But it's a spirit. When we talk about a spirit, it's an attitude. It's an attitude of humility. We don't feel like we're a know-it-all, we've arrived, and we don't have anything to learn. It's a really humble attitude is what it really is. It's one that just really sees yourself as low and sees everybody else here. It's not a self-righteous, arrogant, haughty, proud look of contempt. It's, look, I'm basically a nobody. I got so much to learn. I don't know anything. I've blown it time and time again. My best thinking got me here, and I really want to learn. I want to grow, and I want to be teachable. So my attitude is that I want to have a teachable spirit. It's humble. It's able to take correction, not as rejection. How many have a hard time sometimes, for all honest, we have a hard time receiving, don't we? Our nature, our human nature is just, I don't know what it is, but it's just something in us. There's this thing in us that the minute somebody wants to correct us, we have these unresolved issues, this inner child of ours that's been hurt and wounded and disrespected. It's been hurt by spiritual authority. We've been rejected. We have all these different things in us that when someone tries to correct us, there's this thing that comes in us that immediately begins to put up this wall, these defense mechanisms, and we hide behind them, and we put on this facade like we got it all figured out, and we perform and become people pleasers. And we do everything we can to keep people from knowing who I really, really am on the inside. And all we're really doing is shooting ourselves in the foot. You'll never, ever grow up into the deeper things of God and consistently grow up and mature and develop without being able to receive correction, without having a teachable spirit. So what is that thing in us that when someone just begins to talk to us, we immediately begin to, but what is that thing in us that rises up, that wants to fight, that wants to try to intimidate, back people down, get angry, get self-righteous? We put on all these masks and all these stuff, and all we're really doing is there's something that's coming up in us that we don't want to deal with, that we push back down, and we keep everybody away from us because we don't want to be corrected because it makes us have to get in touch with who we really are and how we really feel. And if you do that, that's no more than putting garbage in a trash can and packing it over and over and over again and keeping the lid on it. And instead of taking it every now and then and taking the lid off and going and dumping it in the dumpster, coming back and having it clean, you just keep packing it on, and you hug that thing and you do everything you can so that nobody will knock your lid off, because you don't want anybody to see what's in it, and you don't even want to see what's in it. You don't want to go there. You don't want anybody else to. So we do all this stuff, to keep us from being correct. So somewhere we're going to have to develop a teachable spirit, one that's able to take correction in a healthy way, not as rejection, not get into reaction, but simply just receive. And say, if you've got something to tell me, you see an area of my life, you see a blind spot, it may not feel good, it might not look good, but in reality, I want to get well, I want to change, so I appreciate what you're telling me. Come sit down with me, talk to me more, help me understand this. It may be right or it may not be right. Their attitude their motive might be good or it might not be good, but your role is to receive, to be teachable, to be open-minded. You see, I don't have it all figured out. I'm not know-it-all. I don't have to be a hardhead. It's okay. I don't have to try to be something I'm not. I am who I am. I want to get well. If there's something not good about me that needs to be changed, then I appreciate it. I welcome it. Now, that's a whole different spirit, isn't it? What is that other spirit? What is that other guy? You know? And I'm not just talking to you. We all have it, don't we? And so somewhere we're going to have to learn to become good receivers. Turn with me to Proverbs 15, 31 through 32. Proverbs is the go-to book when it comes to wisdom. I think we had 8 scriptures tonight. 8 of the 10 or 11 scriptures are coming from Proverbs tonight. Proverbs is written by Solomon, and he was considered the wisest man that ever lived. How many would like to be able to have some one-on-one time with the wisest person that ever lived? I believe I would go in with a list this long of questions. I mean, if he was really all that, and he basically said, he basically was tooting his horn and said, basically, I was so wise, I was so prosperous, that there could never possibly a king that could come after me that could top what I've done. There's no king. I'm so wise that there's no king that ever could be wiser. I'm so prosperous because of that wisdom, because of God's blessing and favor, that no king that could ever come. So if you're looking for the wisest and the most prosperous and you want to go this is one-stop shopping. Come to Solomon. Go read Proverbs. I read through the New Testament from start to beginning over and over again, and then I go to the Psalms, I go to the Proverbs, and then I start over again. So, Proverbs talks a lot about wisdom. In chapter 15 and verse 31, it says he, that means whoever decides to apply what he's talking about, whoever, he, the person whose ear listens to the life-giving reproof, the correction or the reprimand, he will dwell with the wise. The wisest man that ever lives says, hey, if you want to hang out with wise men, then the way you start is you let your ear be attentive, let your ear listen, let it adhere to, let it apply, let it appropriate, let yourself act upon the life-giving reproof that comes from people. Reproof. Now, how many know there's some people obviously that have the wrong motives and they come at you and you know they're mad at you, they're angry, they're just trying to light you up or whatever. And if that's the case, you just listen to them, and but you might even learn something in that. There was a guy that learned a lot from God having to speak to a jackass one time, didn't he? You can learn a lot from jackasses. But listen, we said hearing, words that come into our ears, we hear, that's a matter of hearing. But listening is a matter of taking what goes into your ear and taking it, reveling on it, studying it, contemplating on it. Listening is a matter of the heart. Something can go in your ears, one ear and go out the other. But listening is you're really attentive listening because you really want to hear what someone has to say. You're taking what they say, you're embracing it, you're appropriating it, you're chewing on it, you're gnawing on it, and you're taking it to heart, what they're saying. So it says, he whose ear is listening or is attentive to the other attitude, the life-giving, the person that really cares about you and is trying to build you up and edify, the person that wants to see, someone that genuinely cares about you, their reproof is going to allow you to hang out with wise people. It's going to help you increase in your learning. It's going to make you wiser and wiser and wiser. But he who neglects, refuses, ignores instruction or correction, he who neglects discipline, that's what we've been talking about, he who despises it, he despises himself. But he who listens to reproof acquires understanding. That means he gets wiser and wiser. The Amplified says, he who refuses, ignores an instruction, despises himself, and he who heeds reproof gets more understanding. I like the New Living Translation here. It says, if we reject criticism, when someone criticizes, if we reject it, if we just keep it away, we don't listen to it, you only harm yourself. But if you will listen, take it in, and heed it to that correction, you will grow in your understanding. How do you know the whole point of the Christian life, aside from recovery, not only are we recovering from drugs and alcohol and the effects of sin, but either way, the Christian life is about growing, it's about changing, it's becoming disciples, it's about becoming disciplined followers. It's about going deeper into the things of God, into the narrow gate. So it says that when we don't listen to correction and we don't have a teachable spirit, we're only hurting ourselves. It's like shooting ourselves right in the foot. It's like sawing off a branch that you're sitting on. You know what I'm saying? It's like shooting the messenger rather than just listening. Proverbs 1:5-8 says, a wise man will hear and increase in his learning. A man of understanding will acquire wisdom and counsel. One version says he will acquire skill and attain sound. He will embrace or go after sound counsel. And I like what the Amplified says. It says, so that he may be able to steer his life in the direction or steer it rightly. How many of you want to make sure you're going in the right path? You know? Well, how many you can't do it alone. We're not an island unto ourselves. We're not lone rangers, folks. That's been our problem. We need people. You need me. You need my reproof. You need a good friend. I need a good friend. We're in this together. And we should be able to speak the truth in love so that we all grow up into the full measure of the stature of what God has for us as a family. We should be able to speak the truth in love. You never hardly ever hear anybody outside recovery preaching on Ephesians where it says that we are to speak the truth in love. You can speak the truth without love and hurt somebody, but you can not speak the truth and trying to think, you can hurt them even more, or you understand? So sometimes by not saying anything, you can hurt them just as much as speaking the truth in a wrong way. There's a scripture that says that the wounds of a friend, can be very, very valuable, can't they? So a friend that sticks close, there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. How many know iron sharpens iron? One man sharpens another. We're in this together. You should be sharpening me by keeping me on top of my game and speaking the truth, and I should be keeping you sharp. Iron sharpens iron, so you hang out with iron. You hang around with good men. The Bible says, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. You hang out with dogs, you're going to get fleas, aren't you? So you got a choice. I'm tired of it. I hung around dogs. I was a dog. I gave people fleas, I got fleas. But today I want to be a man of God, so I want to hang around winners. I want to embrace the wounds of friends. Sometimes they may hurt, and I might be mad at them, but if they're truthful and they come from a heart, from a true friend is a friend that's closer than my brother. I have people today that are actually closer than my real brother, because we have a different relationship. Some of the people that I've had the most friction with and bumped heads with and spoke the truth into my life and everything that I didn't like today are my best friends, and I realize, man, I am so grateful that they love me enough to stand up and tell me the truth about myself. Pride is like bad breath. Everybody knows we got it except ourselves, don't we? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Skipping to verse 8, he says, hear, my son, your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. How many forsook your father's and your mother's teaching? Proverbs 12:1 says, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. Can't believe you just said that, Pastor Dave. Well, it's right in the Bible. Stupid. How many have ever been stuck on stupid? The Amplified says, whoever loves instruction and correction loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is like a brute beast who's stupid and indiscriminating. Proverbs 9:8-9 says, do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you. But reprove a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in his learning. What that says right there, if you try to approach somebody that doesn't have a teachable spirit, and you love them and you care about them, and they spurn you, they shut you down, then they're just going to hate you and resent you. And they're just hurting themselves, like shooting themselves in the foot. So we can learn from people that don't have a teachable spirit and not be like them, and we can have a teachable spirit. And it says that if we will, but if you reprove a wise man, in other words, if I'm truly wanting to be a wise man, and I'm wanting to grow, I'm wanting to change, and someone reproves me, then it says that it's an opportunity, if I will listen and receive and be teachable and hear what they got to say, I say, come on, please, help me. And it says that I'll get wiser, still wiser. So you try to correct somebody and make them wise, and they don't want to hear it. But someone that really wants to grow and change, they'll increase. They'll get smarter and smarter, and they'll get wiser and wiser. I don't know about you, but I want to get smarter and smarter. I want to get wiser and wiser. I'm tired of being stuck on stupid. I'm tired of going around the mountain doing the same things over and again in the back end programs, and I want to change my life. I want to grow. So if I do and I really want to do that, then I need to have a teachable spirit, don't I? So first of all, a teachable spirit is someone who's wise, and they want to get wiser. They listen to correction. They take ownership. They're humble. They're submissive. They don't take correction as rejection. They don't bow up. They don't get in reaction. They don't have a meltdown. They don't take it personal. They're able to be humble. They're able to receive and really listen to what you're saying and take it to heart, and they don't get offended so easily. One thing I've noticed, all great saints, and you can write this one down, all great saints, we're all saints, but I'm talking about great saints. I'm talking about even Spurgeons and Billy Grahams, right on down to the Mickey Evans and the Peter Lords, people that I respect, God's generals. All those men that I've ever met, they're great men of God. They're great saints because they've been good receivers. They're teachable. And they have a humbleness about them. I watch a lot of these preachers up and coming, and I see a lot of different things, and I see a lot of powerful messages and things, but I tell you, there's one thing I don't see in some of them that are up and coming, is I don't see a lot of true humility. Just saying, I don't want to judge, I'm just saying my perspective. When I get around these old saints and I hear Dr. Charles Stanley and Billy Graham and some of these old saints, these proven men of God, even when they've been in their 50 and 60 years. I go out with Peter Lord sometimes, and man, I tell you today, I'm amazed at how humble he is. I mean, I can say things and people say things, and he just goes off his back. He doesn't get offended. He doesn't get upset. Okay, really? Wow, all right. But these are men that have been there forever and forever, and they're there because they had to have had a teachable spirit. They had to receive correction. Peter Lord will tell you that one of the greatest reasons he is who he is because of his wife. She didn't have a hard time whatsoever speaking the truth into him. Most of you men that have good women, it's because they don't mind telling you what you need to hear when you need to hear it and how you need to hear it. And so if we don't have that we need to find those kind of people. We need to find that kind of encounter. We need to surround ourselves with winners, people that will speak into our life. So there's this thing called the Law of Readiness. You can say it's for pastors, but the Law of Readiness says that I'm a teacher, but I'm also a student. I'm a student, but I'm also a teacher. I got this dual rule. I told my man last night that I'm an undone man dealing with undone people. The minute I forget who I am and where I've come from, and I think I'm arrived, I think I'm all that, and I see myself as a teacher, and I ever see everybody else down here, I'm in trouble. Let he who stands take heed lest he fall. You who think you've arrived, you who think you're standing, you better watch out. Pride goes before destruction. Let he who stands take heed, you better watch out. You're getting ready to get knocked, slap off your horse. So the Bible says to be humble or be humbled. I don't know about you, but I would rather be humble proactively than be humbled. I'd rather somebody say, son, you need to get off your high horse, and I'll say, thank you, you're right, I'm getting a little too big for my britches. My mom used to say that all the time, son, you're getting too big for your britches. I'd rather her tell me I'm getting too big for my britches and get off my high horse and say, thank you, sir, and politely get off my horse and defer to them than to get knocked off my horse. But come easy or come hard. If you stay proud, you will be humble. But if you humble yourself, you will be lifted up. So there's this dual role that we have. As I grow and I develop, I need to be speaking the truth into other people. I need to be helping people. I need to not be intimidated or afraid. I need to just push through all that to get through my people pleasing, and I just need to cowboy up. If I really care, I really love them, I need to teach them, I need to help them, I need to correct them, and what they do with it's up to them. But at the same time, I always need to be a student. I've not arrived, I'm not there, I'm not above reproach. It's a hard thing to do. Right? How many of you fathers out there have learned a lot from your kids speaking a little something into your life? Nobody? You can learn a lot from a lot of different kinds of people. If you're listening and you care and you want to grow and you want to change. One of the things we ask guys when they come into Liberty Lodge, one of the first things we ask them is, how are you at receiving correction? Are you teachable? How are you with spiritual authority? There's like 3 questions we hit them with. And they're broken. They ain't got no money. They're wanting to improve. And first they, I got no problem. I got no problem. I'm all good. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And we know that they're liar, pants on fire. Here 2 weeks later when they've got a few good nights sleep, they've got some good meals. But about that time they hit a sociogram, then you find out how good they are at receiving correction. When they miss a chore, you got to tell them they got to give back hours on Sunday. When you tell them they can't have a phone and they can't have a car and they can't have a certain job, they got to be home at a certain time, you're not going to get your way. We always tell them the 3 things you're not going to get at Liberty Lodge. One is you're not going to get a handshake because we hug around here, at least we normally do. You're not going to get a bad meal because we feed you good. And the third thing we can promise you, you're for sure not going to get, and that's to get your way. So you will be assimilated. Resistance is futile. And why is that? Are we trying to be mean? We're trying to be cruel? Because we know, but we know that one of the reasons they're even here is because they're rebellious. They're defiant. They've got an authority issue. They're not 48 years old and in a rehab, just having smoked crack and watching pornography, lost their wife, lost their job, left everything they had, and got all kinds of health issues. No, they're out there suffering the consequences of their rebellion towards God. And so we know that one of the hardest addictions is that religious, self-righteous spirit, but one of the first things we have to get down to, we have to get down to that father issue. We have to get down into those unresolved characters. We got to get down into that hidden child, that undealt with child. So we ask them those questions to poke them to see if they're pride, to see if they've got that pride in them that wants to come on up. And if we see it then we know they're broke, but they ain't broken. Are you with me? They're broke, but they ain't broken. So they're not ready to change. So if they're not receiving correction right then at that moment, then we're wasting our time. You need to go back out there and get some more street ministry, go do your thing, and then come on back when you're broken and you're ready to receive. Because if you can't receive correction, you're in the wrong place, because you're going to get a lot of it. Because we love you and we care about you. We want to see you grow. And if you were all that in a bag of chips, you wouldn't be here. Let me remind you, you were just smoking crack. You just lost your wife. You just got an incurable disease. You just got released from jail. So don't tell me you're all that. You haven't arrived, and so you got a lot to learn. So let me ask you again, are you teachable? Are you humble? Can you receive correction? Are you ready to deal with your spiritual authority issue? I know I was a hard head all my life. I was a know-it-all. My dad used to say, son, you're hard-headed. Hard-headed as a rock. Can't tell you nothing. You don't listen. You don't listen. I said, well, yeah, I heard everything he said. He said, no, but you're not listening. My dad would he would get so frustrated. I would disrespect and dishonor him. I would try to intimidate him, all that stuff, And my dad, bless his heart, was just a good old man, But you know what? Finally, I wore him down. Finally, he quit picking on me. Finally, he quit trying to challenge me. Finally, he quit trying to help me. And he just let me go my way. And about that time, boy, I got my way all right. And you know what? I know today, Father knows best. I went to Duncan, man. I was, 38 years old. I lost a big job at Florida Power and Light Company and drugs, alcohol from my whole life where I should have done with nothing. And here I am, walking around with this hedge of protection around me. I was getting voted in the ground. Then, if I remember, they were calling me religious and self-righteous. I thought self-righteous was a good thing. Or religious. Yeah. What they were really trying to call me on is that there was a man inside me that was a monster. It was full of pride, it was self-righteous and haughty and arrogant and just smoked crack through it. And here I am trying to go through Duncan like I'm trying to get through a car wash without getting wet. I got this big defense mechanism up, and I'm trying to anybody that's trying to say anything, I'm pushing away, because I was trying to put on this image that I'm okay, that I don't need nobody. And here I've only been there 2 weeks. Finally, the Lord said to me, he said, what are you doing? Why are you even here? You got people that are trying to help you. They're trying to tell you something. They're trying to talk to you, and you're trying to back them off, intimidate them. You're trying to do all these different things, Why are you doing that? You're a mess. Your best thinking got you here. Yes, that's you. Yes, you are prideful. Yes, you are self-righteous. Yes, you are religious. And you need to humble up and get over yourself and start living. And I remember you said, why don't you just try shutting up and don't say a word? Don't say a word, just shut up. The Lord was talking to me like that. That's what I need to hear, shut up. Okay, it might sound weird to you, but God means us like that. He was saying, zip it, man. Giving you 2 ears, 1 mouth, shut the mouth, listen to the ears, and start listening to what everybody tells you. You might learn something. By the way, why are you here? You're here for how long? 8 months? Why don't you make the best use of this 8 months? Give it all you got and just start learning to receive and be teachable. That's when my life changed. It was amazing what God did in my life. So here what's really going on. Why do you take correction as rejection? Here, this is the fact that we have a book called Inner Child. That inner child could have been really beat down by his dad. How many ever heard your dad say, I wish I'd had a girl? My dad used to say, son, you're dumb as a rock. You're dumb as a hammer. Can't do anything right. Then I had PE coaches do me wrong. And I had female teachers despise me and put me down. I started forming judgments. I started vows. I started resenting spiritual authority and despising spiritual authority. I became very insecure and got intimidated in fights and different things. And in school, I was terrified to take my clothes off for the first time in PE. Just the peer pressure, people picking on you, all that whole game that I never knew. My dad never taught me to fight. I never knew anything. Here I go from living over here to junior high school, and man, it's just wide open. It freaked me out. So I go into this defense mode, acting like I'm tough, when I know inside I'm terrified. Putting on this show, putting on this front, trying to act like I'm all that. And what that really is we're just putting up these defense mechanisms, aren't we? Or we call them masks, or walls. And all these things all that really is that somebody's getting a little too close to that little boy that never grew up, that little boy that was never loved, that guy that never had a dad or never had a good mom, never had rejection, all these unresolved issues, these authority issues, all that stuff coming in. The only way I can do it is I got to put on these walls, this front. What did Adam do when he found out he sinned? He covered up with fig leaves. He felt naked for the first time. He felt shame. He felt all these things about him he didn't like. So for the first time, he said, "Oh my God, I don't like the way I feel about it." So he tried to hide. He couldn't hide from God. So when God found him, he comes out wearing these fig leaves. Where you been? What do you mean where I've been? God didn't know where he was. Adam needed to know where he was. And how many know where, so when we have these people trying to speak into this fruit, okay, are you with me? We have this fruit coming at us that everybody sees. We see this self-righteousness, this pride, this fear, this rejection. We got all this fruit coming out of us. Everybody sees it. Everybody's trying to point it out. Everybody sees it, everybody knows but you, but no, you'd rather be like G.I. Joe in a jar. In the jar, you can look like G.I. Joe and be James Bond and Rambo all at the same time, but you're in a jar. You're in a little world where you don't let anybody get close to you. So you put up these walls, these masks, and you'll try to put up pride or self-righteousness or arrogance or know-it-all. You'll go try to perform. You'll try to look good. You'll try to intimidate. You try to fight somebody. How many know when you try to confront somebody out there and they skip all the steps of being offended and they just go want to fight? Have you ever seen people like that? They go straight to intimidation. It's a jailhouse. That's the lowest form of social functioning that there is when you try to intimidate somebody. What you're saying right there is, I don't even want to discuss it. I don't want to look at it. I'd rather fight. And you've done that all your life. And here you kept all these people away from you. And here you're just this little boy, desperately just wanting somebody to love me, somebody to care about me, somebody to help me. Well, let me just tell you, that little boy's in all of us, isn't it, or girl? And you're never, ever going to be able to get healthy, get well, get functional, and let God get down to the root. As long as you put these walls up. So if we're going to grow, if we're going to be healthy, if you really want to get well, then you're going to have to take correction, not as rejection, and you're going to have to learn to be teachable. You're going to have to receive correction, and you're going to have to embrace these different things if anything's going to change. So he whose ear listens to life-giving reproof will dwell among the wise. He who neglects discipline despises himself, and he who listens to reproof requires understanding, gets wiser and wiser, smarter and smarter. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired. I want to get well. This is a challenge for all of us. So we can either join, participate, and embrace, or be embittered, or welcome what God's wanting to do in our life. So it's essential, if you can get well, you're going to have a teachable spirit. You're going to have to learn to receive correction. Amen?
Amen.
All right. God bless you.